Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes won their third straight game and their first game against a Metropolitan Division opponent of the season against the Philadelphia Flyers last night. Find out how they did it, the good, the bad, and what's next for the team in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Tuesday morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit fanduel.com/locked on to get started. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes, they were able to beat the Philadelphia Flyers last night. This was a game that I think we are all kind of looking forward to as the first Metro Division matchup for the Hurricanes this season. And as I said yesterday, these are games where it really doesn't matter where the teams are in the standings. These teams always play each other super, super hard. And that's exactly what we saw last night. And yes, obviously the Hurricanes were able to come away with the win, which was awesome. Came away with a 3-2 win over the Flyers, which was very well earned. They had to fight for this win. It did not come easy. Yes, again, they did come away with the win. Teravainen ended up scoring the game-winning goal with 3:47 left in the third, and with this game, we saw some of the issues that I brought up yesterday. You look at the first period and how things went there towards the end of that. It's definitely coming back to, they got to play the full 60. Yes, other teams are going to make pushes and whatnot. We definitely saw that in the third period as well. But at the end of the day, the Hurricanes were able to bounce back in the second and hold the Flyers off and get the win, which I think was great for them. We saw Andrei Svechnikov get his first point of the season on the Steph Nazen goal a little over 3 minutes into the first period. The Hurricanes, they came out ready. And that was one thing I said yesterday, is that they need to set the tone early. That was really important because of one, as I always say with Metro Division matchups, of how hard the teams play each other, but then also Philly, being pretty decent, so far this year. They, as I said yesterday, they're not allowing a whole lot. They're, ahead of last night's game, they're averaging about 27 and a half shots allowed. Carter Hart had a .924 save percentage. They were really good. They're pretty good defensively, and we did see that and how they were able to hold off the Hurricanes. But again, setting that tone early, creating that pressure, that was really important for the Hurricanes, for them to get momentum on their side early in that first period. Again, things they kind of fall off the rails a little bit after the first 10, 15 minutes or so, when the Hurricanes are just making errors and whatnot, ended up leading to Philly tying, and then Frederick Anderson blunder ended up leading to them taking the lead heading into the second period. And one thing that Trip Tracy mentioned was how you see a period in like that for Freddie. Sometimes it could go one of two ways. You could either have what we ended up having last night, you bounce back and the Freddie we know and love, or it could just get worse from there, which we have seen that before. But thankfully, it was the former. He bounced back, was the Freddie we needed him to be, especially in the third period when the Flyers were really pushing and pushing and pushing. But again, the Hurricanes were able to come away with the win. And again, Freddie did really nicely recover from that blunder. And This game could have been 4-2. Jack Drury's goal got challenged successfully for Steph Nazen being offsides, but thankfully Michael Bunting, he was able to get another power play goal for him on the season. Shortly after that, with assists from Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Steph Nazen. And as I said yesterday, one thing I was expecting, from this game with Carter Hart being as good as he's been so far this season, Freddie Anderson the same as well, was it to turn it into a goaltender's duel, and that is exactly what we saw in the third period. Yeah, the Hurricanes were not on their best. They were really on their heels. Philly was coming out hot and really, yeah, pushing and pushing and pushing. And Freddie, yeah, he stood tall. He made a bunch of great saves on high danger chances and everything. He did everything the Hurricanes needed him to do throughout the third period up until Teuvo Teravainen, who was one of my guys to watch yesterday, ended up scoring that game-winning goal for the Hurricanes. That was his 8th of the year, already surpassed last year's total. So that's great for him. And I really do hope that he is able to continue this because, man, this is the Teuvo that we needed. This is the Teuvo we need. We need the one that, can go and put the puck in the back of the net on a game to game basis. That's important. Because you just see what he can do, just how lethal his shot is, and we need this to continue throughout the season. I'm not expecting 40 goal season or whatever. I'm not expecting that from him. That's not him. Uh, but man, just we need him to be able to do this of realize like, hey, I have this shot. I should probably take it rather than pass it over to Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, Martinez, whoever, because we had seen that in the past. So the fact that we're getting this Teuvo now, I think is going to be really beneficial to the team throughout the season, and it's something that I really hope continues throughout the season. Which the way it's going, things are going for him, and obviously the team is happy with that. So I don't see it changing. Again, I don't expect a goal every game or anything like that. Obviously, this pace that he's on is going to slow down, and that's fine. But I just, he has that confidence there, like, oh, hey, I got this. And that's important. And that's what the Hurricanes are going to need this season. And then you have other guys, Steph Nazen, who's quietly been a great addition for the Hurricanes. You saw, I believe it was last year, him and Jalen Chatfield both kind of forcing the coaching staff's hands of having them on the roster and not sending them down to the AHL because both of those guys were on two-way deals. And obviously, both of them still here. They're doing their job right. Steph Nazen, he's found success for the Hurricanes. He's doing really, really well for them. Michael Bunting is really slotting in nicely for the Hurricanes, and we love that. That was obviously a signing a lot of folks were excited about when it happened, and it's already paying off for the Hurricanes. And you love that because sometimes the adjustment period for players can be a bit frustrating. We are seeing that with Dmitry Orlov this year. We saw it last year with Brent Burns. And so those guys, you just gotta give it a little bit of time. But Michael Bunting, he's being really good for the Hurricanes. I believe he leads the team in power play points now also, which is awesome. And I love that. But there's more good to get into, but there's also some bad as well as my 3 stars of the game. And we will dive into that right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it is that time of the year. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when winning any $5 money line bet on FanDuel. NFL season is underway. NHL season, NBA season, World Series is going on. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. I know I don't know if the MLS playoffs have continued, but I know the USL 1 playoffs, those are going. The NCFC. They're playing in the final for that. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. And like I said, you bet, you win $5 on a money line bet, you get $150 in bonus bets, and that's $150 if your team wins. Whether it's the Hurricanes, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it's I would say the Charlotte Hornets, but yeah, there's so many teams doing stuff right now. FanDuel has you covered. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, like I said, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now because there's so much going on, folks. And the app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over unders, and more. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, diving back into the good and the bad, and then my 3 stars of the game. As I said, the good. Freddie Anderson bouncing back, the way he did in the second and third period, following a rough end to the first. I think that was really, really good. Definitely, I mean, he's obviously been around a long time, but that's definitely something that can build some confidence, and be like, hey, mistakes happen. I can still go out there or go back out there and do what I gotta do. Be that brick wall. Be the guy that was in contention for the Vezina Trophy a couple years ago. Before he got hurt. Be the guy that won the Jennings Trophy with Ronta. Be that guy. Because we know he has it in him. That's why the Hurricanes brought him in the first place, and then obviously signed him to another extension. Tuevo Teravainen again continuing his hot streak, which I think is absolutely fantastic. We're all loving that. And I want that to continue as long as it can. And, especially, just seeing it now, he's already, surpassed his goal total from last year already. It's not even November yet. I mean, yes, it is tomorrow, but he's already passed his total from last year so early into the season, which I think is great. Yes, it is a contract year for him, so he's obviously fighting to get an extension with the Hurricanes, but he's showing that he's still got it because you remember back in the offseason, his name was one that was floating around a lot when it came to trades. Uh, you know, and whether or not, like, do the Hurricanes need to move on from him? Is it time? But he's showing, nah, it's not time. He still has it in him, and I'm loving that. Again, Michael Bunting on the power play, and his power play goal also came from his offside as well, which I think is great for him. Again, he is another guy that is fitting in really, really nicely, and that addition is looking really, really good so far, and I'm really enjoying that. I hope he continues to flourish on the Hurricanes offense, on the Hurricanes power play. We saw last year of Steph Nazem being the standout guy on the power play. I believe when the season ended, he was the guy that leaded the team, or that led the team in power play points. Excuse me for my poor grammar there. So I want to see that continue there. And then also, the penalty kill as well. The Hurricanes did take a few too many penalties in this game, but the penalty kill was able to stand tall, hold off the Flyers, which is great. We always love that. The Hurricanes penalty kill is typically year in and year out one of, if not the best in the National Hockey League. So, just seeing it, operating, the way it's supposed to is obviously going to be a good thing. We love seeing that. And then, of course, holding off Philadelphia's pushes that they were having, especially in the third period. I think that was really, really good. A lot of that came back to Frederik Andersen. The forwards and defensemen were really on their heels there in that third period. So Freddie Andersen, being able to do his part, hold them off, and then of course, the guys out on the ice do their thing as well, and that was great. But then, we do have the bad of the period as well. And again, the end of the first period, like I've said time and time again over the years, they've got to play the full 60. Again, mistakes are going to happen. We all know that. That's going to happen regardless of the sport. Whether you're watching hockey, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, lacrosse, whatever, teams are going to make mistakes. That's going to happen, and they're going to lead to the opposition scoring. I was going to say goals, but we're talking about all sports here, so it's going to lead to the opposition scoring. So it can't get too upset about that. But you look at the momentum that they were building throughout the first, and then the wheels just fall off there at the end, and that's very frustrating, for them, because we know this team is better than that. Again, it is still early in the season. They're still getting that early season stuff worked out. Okay. Yeah, so like I said yesterday, it's not a concern that I'm having long term. It's not something I think come February or anything, is still going to be a really big problem. If it is, then we have a really big problem. But I think that's going to be stuff that gets under control. At the end of the day, how many penalties did the Hurricanes take in this game? Uh, it was several. I know that much. Uh, let's see. But anywho, the Hurricanes, yeah, penalties have really got to be something that they get under control big time, because yeah, you just can't have this stuff, you know, night in, night out. Again, things are going to happen. That's fine. But yeah, the Hurricanes went 1 for 1 on the power play. The Flyers went 0 for 5 on the power play. So that's really got to be something that get under control. Remember, I mentioned yesterday, through like the first 2 weeks of the season, the Hurricanes were leading the NHL in penalties, and you can't have that. And then in those last 2 games, the Seattle and San Jose game, they only took 3 penalties. And then in this game, they're taking 5. Come on, guys. Gotta clean this stuff up. Now, going back to one other positive is the fact that the Hurricanes absolutely dominated the face-off circle, uh, which is pretty par for the course with them. They're usually winning that matchup, but I did want to mention it here, just hopping back to the good real quick. The Hurricanes won 70.9% of the faceoffs. Philly just 29.1% of the faceoffs. So the faceoffs, those are obviously those are key battles, there. And because you look at the Bunting power play goal, Kokiniemi wins the faceoff, sort of, and then Nazem helps him get it out of the circle, tosses it over to Bunting, and then just a big one timer. I think from like 15, 20 feet out or something like that on his offside, like I mentioned earlier, gets that power play goal. You see just how key winning those battles can be. That was a prime example of that. And then also the teamwork there as well. And that's another thing, ending with a positive, just because that's what we like to do, is the teamwork, that the team showed in this game, like that power play goal that I just mentioned. And then Freddie Anderson, doing his part, especially in that third period, and just guys all over, doing what they can. And I think that's really, really important for him, or for the team, really. And I think this team, they've got it. They got it. They just need to work out a few issues. And like I said, the full 60 minutes, they've got to get that under control. Make sure they're not coasting, and get their penalties under control. Don't be taking dumb stuff. I get it. Things are going to happen, throughout a game. But when you're leading the league through the first 2 weeks, then you go from taking 3 over 2 games to then 5-1. Like, your penalty killing can only do but so much. Yes, they did their part. It comes back to that teamwork of everyone pitching in and doing their job, and that's great. But they've got to get that stuff under control. But quick 3 stars of the game. Mine are honestly the same as the Hurricanes. Third star being Michael Bunting. with him getting that power play goal. Number 2, Teuvo Teravainen, scoring the game-winning goal for the Hurricanes, continuing his hot streak. And then first star, being Frederik Andersen. He did a lot for this team in this game against Philly, because, without him, that third period really could have gotten ugly, because like I said, the Flyers really had all the skaters on their heels. They were creating a lot of high danger chances, applying a lot of pressure. And, Freddie ended up standing tall for the Hurricanes, which was absolutely fantastic. And we would not have gotten the win without him. And, I'm glad we did. That's 3 straight for the Hurricanes now. I'm really enjoying it. But now we got to look ahead to later on in the week and who's next for the Hurricanes and what do they have and what's next for them as well. And we will dive into that right after this quick break, folks. Now, a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Sebastian Aho could score 50 goals. The Carolina Hurricanes could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could be winning big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy hockey app of the Locked On NHL network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Teuvo Teravainen. He's been a guy that's been really hot right now on the Hurricanes, or guys across the league like Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews will record one will record more or less their sleeper projections for things like goals, saves, plus, minus, and more in any given day. To win a $100 bet or 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8-player stats. You heard me, Canes fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code Locked On NHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Now, diving back into the Hurricanes and what's next for them. They are off today on Tuesday, Halloween. So, they're just kind of spending time with their families, probably hitting the gym. No official practice or anything like that. They're just kind of doing their thing for the day, which is fine. They've earned it for sure. And then they do go practice tomorrow and then travel up to New York for their game against the Rangers on Thursday. And, so you got the Rangers up next. That's going to be a tough contest. As I said yesterday, they're next games are all against Metro Division opponents, with it being Philly, who they got the win, which is great, then the Rangers, then the Islanders. So they got their work cut out for them because Metro teams always play each other tough. And the Rangers, they're a team that historically have had the Hurricanes number. Obviously, in recent years, that has changed a little bit, but it's one that, the Hurricanes are going to have a tough contest on Thursday, and they really got to be prepared. And, what do they have to do, to come away with this or come away the win in that game? Obviously, we're going to talk more about that as, that time gets closer, of course. But, just a quick thing. It's kind of the same things, I've been talking about with this game and just in general, kind of this season. Make sure they're playing the full 60 minutes. Get your penalties under control. I think that's going to have to be something they're really working on in practice tomorrow, and then at morning skate on Thursday. I think that's really got to be something they work on, playing that full 60. Like, do not take your foot off the gas. It's one thing, like, if you're just trying not to run up the score, okay, sure, whatever. But like, you can't, just start to back off, and coast. You can't do that because, at that point, the other team's going to notice that, and they're going to be playing desperate to get the lead or to tie it, get the lead, and win the game. Like, you cannot be doing that. We've seen that before. I believe it was a game last year against Minnesota. The Hurricanes, just they took their foot off the gas, and then Minnesota comes back and wins it. I believe that was Pyotr Kochekov's first loss. Like, come on, guys! Like, you cannot do that. There's countless examples of that, and I get, not every game's going to be perfect. We know that. Heck, we've seen that already this season, and not everything's going to be perfect, which is fine. But it's such an easy fix. It's such a simple thing, and that's what makes it so frustrating. Like, and again, I say it's simple as me sitting here in my apartment. I'm not out there yet playing. You're not out there playing. We say that as us, but it's such a simple fix of just play the full 60. Don't take your foot off the gas. And then also, get your penalties in check. Come on, guys. I get, some teams are good at drawing penalties and that whatnot. That's fine. But the Hurricanes really got to get that stuff in check before it becomes a long-term problem this season. Again, I go back to the first 2 weeks. They led the league in them. They took 5 last night. Penalty kill can only do but so much. Eventually, something is going to break. We all know how good the Hurricanes penalty killing is. We all know that. We all know it's absolutely fantastic. But at the end of the day, if you're taking 5, 6 penalties a game, something's going to happen eventually. So, if they can get that in check, I think they'll be all right. If really just those two things, I think if they're able to do that, they'll be okay. It would be interesting to see how the lineup shakes out in that game against New York. Does Svechnikov move up in the lineup? Because Lemieux, he's been the odd man out now. So what happens there? Or does he stay on that fourth line for a bit longer? Or what's going to happen there? That's going to be really interesting to see how things go. We'll obviously get more on that come Wednesday and Thursday. Once this team gets back on the ice and is practicing. So we'll get more of an idea then. But enjoy the win, folks. The Hurricanes, they really had to fight for that win against Philly, and they're able to do it, able to come back, get that win, get the win against a divisional opponent, which we know just how key those are in the Metro, because this division does get very, very tight at the end of the year. So just go ahead and getting wins already. That's great for them. And I'm looking forward to the game against the Rangers. That one's definitely going to be fun. Again, another Metro Division matchup. It's going to be another tough game, but I think the Hurricanes have it in them. We'll obviously talk about that more when that game comes around. So make sure you're following the show along at LO_Hurricanes and myself at Jared Ellis _96. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Enjoy the win, folks. And as always, let's go Canes.